everything non-standard becomes a norm, becomes a standard. So right now, employee gets a very strong voice in all of this, and employers need to learn how to listen and hear that voice. Hiring people that we must hire because of the diversity issues might get into the way of actually getting the best talent into the company.
They don't know what to do with this so-called Z generation. Any ideas? Hello everyone, we have a great interview with our special guest today. My name is Andrea Rождественський and I'm CEO for Center of Leadership in Ukrainian Catholic University and part of academic team for HR program in Lviv Business School. And we have Іріни Міхайлавої today, which is responsible for T&D in Netherlands company which names GÉANT. And would you like to tell a few more words about you to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, my name is Ірина and I work for a company called GÉANT, and GÉANT provides network and connectivity for research and higher education across Europe. So we work with many European partners. In fact, 43 we're greater than European Union. And we do have partners in Ukraine as well. However, it is a different assignment that brings me to Ukraine today. It's the collaboration with your university and a possibility to teach a few courses at the master's degree for HR and organizational development specialists.
Oh, great. So welcome.
Thank
welcome.
you.
And I have a question for you. So you mentioned our program, HR and organizational development. And what we're trying to do in this program, we're trying to prepare HR as a business partner.
Right.
So we're glad when our alumni, even though they're working in a HR role, they're thinking a lot about business. Because first of all, this is the function which is support business. And my first question is, what are the main challenges do you think businesses meeting nowadays?
Yeah, there's a lot of stress is happening around businesses, and forms of business are being questioned because we're having a growing digital sort of pressure. The demands of the staff, of people, are changing because we're having a lot more generations working, so the age of people that we're dealing with is also growing. The ways of working is changing, so everything non-standard becomes a norm, becomes a standard. So in particular for people who deal with people in organizational spaces, it becomes more and more prominent to balance out processes, because they still need to deliver on admin, policy, strategic work, and people who also demand a lot of attention and a lot of special considerations in order to be productive, in order to deliver results. There are various forms of organizing teams, virtual teams, distributed teams, global organizations. So a lot of pressure. And if I were to single out the main challenge that HR is facing, is this balance between people and processes. Is to try that. I think the main stress is right now on that, on trying to manage that.
I see. According to that, what do you think are the main trends, HR trends for the next few years, I would say 2020, 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually what we've discussed during the course in the previous 2 days here with the students. So the organizations, due to all these changes that are happening globally and that are happening with people and perceptions and whatnot, are moving towards mixed focus. And what I mean is that, of course, every business is driven by profit and by shareholders, meeting shareholders' interests. However, the greater stress is about livelihood of the societies and of the planet, even in general. We see the climate change movement, we see eco movement, we see green movement, we see volunteer movement, and this is what staff and employees and people bring into the workspace as well, and demand organizations to be not exclusively focused on profit and money and returns, but also be focusing on social value and delivering social value. So the organizations are right now not exclusively about, businesses are not exclusively about money, but also about the social value. And that brings its own flavor to what is being done in the workplace.
So my next question is about preparation of HR specialists abroad in Western world. So Western business education, while preparing HR, they are stressing the point on some kind of skills. What are the skills? What are the topics they're covering in business education today?
Well, business education is focusing on many skills, you should say, and I guess hence there are many programs that address various needs in the market. I would like to single out 3 sets of skills that I believe that are important to have in the educational curriculum and to be able to have at the end of the programs. First skill, I believe, is empathy. Empathy is extremely important because of the balance that we mentioned at the start, the balance between people and processes. And processes have been quite prevailing recently, and they will remain important because compliance issues that HR solves every day will not go away. However, people are becoming more and more prominent and more important for HR work, and such trends as being a chief people's officer, a chief happiness officer in companies really demonstrate that focus on people is prevailing and is there. Therefore, for a new generation of HR professionals, they need to have this empathy and understanding of people, the emotional intelligence to be able to work with people. The other skill that I believe is quite important and will remain important is strategic analysis and strategic positioning of HR profession. We need to understand as a profession how our work and our role contributes to the end customer of our business, not only to the internal staff members on which we focus first and foremost. So how is our activity inside really helps organization achieve its strategic aspirations. And last but not least is obviously the technological acumen and technical literacy of HR professionals will be extremely important, and that is in particular and in relation to privacy issues and data privacy concerns that are becoming increasingly important in the digital age that we live in, and HR professionals deal with a lot of very sensitive data that requires special treatment and special routines and processes of dealing with that data within organizations.
My next question is about diversity. I'd like to ask you the question about diversity because, as I know, the workforce in Europe now is changing dramatically. A lot of people from different cultures are coming to Europe. They're starting to live there, to work there. And from one point of view, it's a kind of challenge for the business. And from another point of view, as well, is a great opportunity for the business to have a diverse team. Can you share with your experience about diversity, how to manage diversity, and what are the main challenges comes with the diversity, but what are the opportunities which diversity can give to the modern business, to the global business?
Yeah, diversity is it's the world we live in, and in my company, I believe we've counted recently. We're about 140 people, and we have 32 nations, so we're pretty diverse. And in the workplace, diversity is very much visible because we needed to get a good coffee machine because our Italian contingent was very much concerned about the quality of the coffee that we were receiving, and hence their productivity was dependent on that. So that's indeed diversity interpretation, so to speak. However, I also believe diversity can give a lot of interesting perspective and points of views in order to collect and get inspired from different parts of the world. You know, every person brings their own cultural heritage and upbringing and their own mental models into the workplace, and that makes the workplace richer. But it also makes it more difficult to bring to get decisions to the common denominator, to agree on things, because the perspectives are so broad and so different. So we need to learn how to work with this diversity and how to embrace it. Multiple cross diverse teams, multiple assignments, agree to disagree. So organizational culture rules could very much celebrate diversity and support the way, demonstrate and give the way of how this diversity should be exercised within any given organization. However, I also at the same time believe that in terms of bringing people into organizations is the most skilled person should get the job. Here, some of the agendas of hiring people that we must hire because of the diversity issues might get into the way of actually getting the best talent into the company. So we need to remain faithful to the fact that we want to have the best talent in our companies, and hire the best talent. That would be my take on the diversity in organizational context.
The next question is how to keep this best talent on board, because nowadays it's not a big issue to change the company. It's not a problem. Like 10-15 years ago, if you're changing your workplace more often than once in 5 years, you're not reliable employee, and you can have a problem during your interview. But nowadays, 6-8 months in a project, that's fine. People changing places, especially young people. And this, I think, going to be my next question about new generation. You mentioned already that a lot of diversity we are meeting in age, in the age. But coming back to the keeping talent on board. So how can we do it? How you can do it? How you're doing it in Europe? And what are the main challenges HR is meeting in this part?
Yes, talents are, it is difficult. They say it's a war on talent. Of course, we're all competing to get the best talent, and talent is sort of as a bee jumping from flower to flower, trying to get more pollen, trying to generate more honey for themselves. And perhaps first thing to maybe make a note of is that this will remain like this. And maybe we as HR professionals need to change our mental perception of the fact that people will be moving. And retention is much shorter than it used to be. And maybe we should be focusing on giving these people a good time whilst they're with us, because they will then become our champions. So we would want them to leave our companies, should they choose to leave our companies, with a good view of our business. And that would help us to develop our position, sort of, our reputation in the market. So we here perhaps also need to adjust a bit what we expect, our expectations, because this is the trend, this is what is happening, and I'm not sure if this is actually going to go away. So this constant continuous movement. But in order to increase the longevity, of the employment, the value proposition of HR to every individual has to be very clear, and that's why I'm talking and speaking about seeing people as opposed to focusing exclusively on processes. Is this empathy, is be able to relate to every individual and have an individual value proposition. What's in it for me? Every person asks when they look for a job, when they decide to go where to go on vacation, when we make many of our decisions with this question in mind. And here, HR professionals need to make it clear what is the value proposition, what are the benefits, are the gains for an individual? Are they the status gains? Are they the financial gains? Are they the recognition gains? Are they the professional development and learning? They have to be clarified and not only put in the contract in somewhat complex words, legal words. Not always it is clear what you're actually getting out of it, but really clearly verbalized through an interview or through some kind of conversation continuously. This is what you're going to get if you're going to join us. Are you with us or not?
That's great. You know, the marketology is one of the skills that we can put into the basket of HR, because
absolutely,
labor market is a market. Yeah,
absolutely.
And the great idea, I mean, if person is want to leave, let the person leave, and let him or her be your employee brand ambassador in another company.
Yes.
Great idea. Thank you very much for that. Coming back to younger generations, because this is the big issue for Ukrainian managers now. They don't know what to do with this so-called Z generation. Any ideas?
Yeah, give them devices and let them be. No, of course not. They are a new generation with a new set of skills. We need to, first of all, understand them, you know, who they are, what's in their making. We need to understand their preferred way of working and their internal drivers. And perhaps also give this value proposition, create this jobs that are for them, that meet their expectations, that help them achieve their ambitions. And there are certain commonalities. So according to the recent 2019 Human Capital Development Survey, Human Capital Trends Survey by Deloitte Insights, learning and development is a #1 issue for HR spaces, HR teams and organizations. And that is for the reason of that being a very huge demand amongst our staff members. However, constantly throwing learning and development opportunities is also not going to satisfy and bring business results. We need to bring learning into the workplace. And that would be by understanding the inside making of Generation Z. Here, I think management, as with any sort of, as we were just mentioned, marketing, we really need to understand our customer, because this is about them. There's something, you know, we need to try to understand them in order to make them successful and cooperative, contributing to our business. So it's a both-way game. There has been a tendency many years ago, but nevertheless, I think we might be still carrying some of that heritage, that employer has a weight, has a greater role. Well, right now, employee gets a very strong voice in all of this, and employers need to learn how to listen and hear that voice, because then we end up seeing all these flying bees and jumping flowers. We have very short retention periods because we sort of don't understand each other on the level that would be sustainable and long-term.
Thank you very much. And my last question, what would you like to wish to our HRs in Ukraine, especially for the people who are learning now this profession?
Right, yes. Stay curious. Curiosity drives progress, surmounts mountains, brings new innovation. Stay curious and keep on asking questions.
Great.
That would be my wish.
For everyone, I mean, not only for HR.
Not only for HR,
it's a global wish, I would say.
It's a global wish, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Irina.
Thank you so much, it's a pleasure.